14th, 2025. This is HOA Today. HOA Today is brought to you by Zayuk. Zayuk is a company that provides software and inspection services for HOAs and condo associations. And we come to your property, we do a reality capture inspection, we do a reserve study inspection, and we integrate that with your daily software communications operation system, where you can also do things like send requests for proposals, maintain contracts, and other items of that sort. So in HOA Today, we often go through current events, and we'll do that now. Current events within the HOA industry. So this is by Wilmington Biz Insights, provided by David Orr. As seasons change, so do maintenance needs of HOAs. Protect the community from costly winter damage by preparing now in autumn. Regular seasonal maintenance supports safety, community aesthetics, and long-term property value. Inspect building exteriors. Cooler temperature and wet weather can make minor exterior issues worse if left unaddressed. A thorough inspection helps avoid costly surprises later. And Zayuk inspection services create that reality capture over years, and it gives you a framework to store your information, like those property issues that this writer is speaking about. Check for water damage, soft or damp building materials, and musty odors can signal hidden leaks. Inspect the roof. Missing shingles, visible from ground cracks or sagging areas may let water in during heavy rain or snow. So we've spoken about an incident where one community in Minnesota had a huge assessment, and there was questions as to whether the documentation was provided. And these types of issues, and it led to a lawsuit, and these types of issues can documenting everything is critical. And although that can't be done in every regard, the physical exterior of your building through a reality capture inspection and integrated with our software to give you that deliverable in a form you can ingest and your community can ingest daily is helpful. Okay, we will continue. So clean gutter, preparing for wet winter weather, clean gutters and storm drains, remove debris and clogs to prevent water overflow and flooding in common areas. Remind residents to do the same. Helps homeowners protect their own property while reducing potential damage to shared spaces. Stormwater management. Verify required maintenance has been done for stormwater devices, ponds, lakes, things of that nature. Landscaping, walk the grounds with your landscaper, discuss seasonal needs, and confirm work aligns with your budget. Plant new shrubs or trees, fertilize plants and flowers, remove dead branches, and consult arborists. Inspect high-traffic outdoor areas with secure hand railings, repair uneven pavement, check outdoor lighting, and gather winter supplies. Luckily, in Southern California, we don't deal with too much of these things as much as other places in the country. Stock essential items, salt, shovels, ice scrapers, de-icing, and emergency equipment. Okay. And Zayuk Safe is the perfect tool for an instance like this. Get your inspection, your reserve study inspection document the state of everything, get a drone over there, document the quality of your roofs, your balconies, your pavement, all of these various places that your property owns assets. Okay, we'll move on. This is part of the Palm Beach Post. Condo owner leaves thermostat at 77 over the summer and has mold. Who pays for that? The question, the person owns a condo that had mold growth due to humidity bloom from the AC system. Temperature was set at 77 when it was unoccupied, which resulted in humidity levels reaching into the 80s, and the insurance does not cover mold remediation caused by humidity bloom. Remove some popcorn ceilings due to visible mold and several other remediations. And an email from the insurance company suggested the condo may be responsible to repair the damage. And this person is asking. And then this is being responded to by Ryan Polyakov. Florida's Condominium Act and association governing documents determine who is responsible for repairs from non-insurable events. Common situation. And we just spoke about ice and winter issues, and then this is an issue that likely many states in the north don't deal with as much: high humidity environments. Moisture, heat, and darkness is where mold grows. AC set at an appropriate temperature lowers the likelihood of mold. Closer to 76. I mean, that's not too different from 77. Sudden and accidental loss. Policy has a mold exclusion. May not have covered the damage. The insurance company then cites Section 71811 Florida statute and suggests that the condominium is responsible to repair this damage and that you should contact them accordingly. But their letter isn't entirely correct. Minus certain specific items like flooring and wall coverings, and that if there is damage due to an insurable event, the association would be responsible to repair that. But non-insurable occurrences are dictated by governing documents. And your governing documents might say the specific assets that are owned by them and the ones that are covered and owned by you. The responsibility to repair your ceiling and other damaged areas is going to come down to your declaration of condominium. Usually, condominium associations are responsible for ceilings and perimeter walls, but not universally the case. And this article is concluding that it would be more expensive to fight the association than to just handle the issue themselves. And because the association is going to argue negligence. The Condominium Act further says that when any damage is caused by a unit owner's negligence, the association is still responsible to repair the damage, but any amounts not collected from insurance can be collected from the negligent owner by lien and foreclosure if necessary. So that's similar to California. All right, we'll move on. This is by the Los Angeles Daily News. Some narrow circumstances under Davis-Sterling Common Interest Development Act in which boards are empowered by statute to make certain limited amendments to CC&Rs or bylaws without a membership vote. Many HOAs have governing documents containing illegal discrimination, provisions against race or sex, children except senior communities which can ban children, or other classes listed in Government Code 129955 must be removed or boards pursuant to Civil Code 4225. Older CC&Rs sometimes still contain racial restrictions, and some association documents from as recently as the 1970s or 80s will occasionally have illegal restrictions against children. Not optional because Civil Code Section 4255B makes it mandatory. Department of Fair Employment and Housing 4225D sue the HOA to compel such amendments. Governing document CC&Rs contain language protecting the developer's ability to complete the construction and to market the remaining unsold homes. Provide the builder access to the site and authorize a sales office and common area. Civil Code 4230 allows boards to remove such provisions from the governing documents. However, a very confusing part, subpart D, still require a membership vote, with any owners owning more than 2 units excluded from the definition of quorum. 2014 Davis-Sterling Act was relocated, reorganized, and amended in many ways. So pre-2014 CC&Rs and bylaws contain outdated and incorrect civil code references. That's really interesting. And that is such an interesting component of law and HOA law, specifically in regards to a civil code within the state that HOA is in. So you have an HOA that created legislature from pre-2014, and then Davis-Sterling was amended in 2014, and now that is a blockchain. I hope to put that on. That is a blockchain issue for sure. If you had smart protocols across that, then you would automatically change up those laws based on the laws that are now in the civil code in the references, and then the smart protocol would just rewrite it. Zayuk might have to do that. And remember, this is all brought to you by Zayuk software and smart and inspection service. So we provide a platform for your property and your owners to manage your property and maintain the transparency throughout the system. And we do that through meetings, voting, our inspection service, RFPs, various other protocols, including governance, to make sure that information is being distributed as it needs to be. All right. Civil Code 4235 allows boards to amend and update statute references in CC&Rs and bylaws to match new statute numbers. Illegal rental restrictions. Section 4741, effective in 2021, bans unreasonable restrictions against rentals and directs HOAs to remove such restrictions from their governing documents. Subpart F of the statute allows a small 6-month window, January 1, 2022 to July 1, to amend CCRs to remove unreasonable rental restrictions. This is a really interesting point, and it's just a really interesting point in the sense that they're giving them the short window to do these changes. Boards should always seek assistance from qualified legal counsel before considering amendments by the board to the HOA CC&Rs or bylaws. Legal counsel can help ensure the amendment qualifies for one of the 3 available exceptions to the membership vote requirement. Really interesting. And I'm not a lawyer. None of this is legal advice. If you have HOA law questions, you should reach out to an HOA lawyer. But to read about this and how there were several issues. 2014, you have amendments to Davis-Sterling Act, which may put HOA CC&Rs in an outdated predicament where they aren't actually referencing current law. And additionally, you had a new civil code section banning unreasonable restrictions against rentals, and they gave a window period, and by they I mean the state, California, gave a window period to HOAs to amend their bylaws or their CC&Rs or bylaws. That's a really interesting mechanism. Many of these amendments must be approved in an open board meeting with normal Open Meeting Act agenda announcement. Once approved, must be recorded, meaning filed with the county register recorder. Bylaw amendments need not be recorded but should be sent to the members as soon as possible after approval. All right. Next. This is from the Charlotte Observer. Charlotte HOA tries to foreclose on ex-president's condo, asks court to stop it. Ooh. Taken his neighborhood association to court alleging it improperly approved a $2,400 special assessment and sought to foreclose on his home after when he refused to pay. Former president of Reflections One in East Charlotte said the board violated its governing documents in 2021 without securing the required homeowner votes. McAllister said he objected to how the fee was approved and billed, but the board and its management company ignored his concerns. When he refused to pay, McAllister said the HOA restricted his account access, sent his balance to collections, and eventually filed a lien that led to foreclosure proceedings. Led 3 HOAs and currently serves as president of another, and it began shortly after he stepped down from Reflections One board, and they needed extra funds for exterior work on the building. His lawsuit seeks more than $235,000 in damages and a full audit of the HOA's finances from 2014 to 2024. Also accuses the association of unlawful actions and a lack of transparency. A former homeowner in the community said she was charged the full assessment when she sold her unit and later filed a small claims case seeking reimbursement, and the case was dismissed. Statute of limitations by 3 weeks. Wow. HOA filed a motion to dismiss the case in September, arguing that McAllister lacks standing. His property is owned by his company, Blockham Investments. The HOA's motion argues McAllister cannot represent his own company under state law because he is not a licensed attorney. Not unusual for HOAs to foreclose. Found that since 2018, filed to foreclose on over 5,500 homes. House Bill 542 in 2023 require mediation and hearings before foreclosure. Senate Bill 378 passed through the Senate this year and has been sitting on the House committee since May. And I think we spoke about Senate Bill 378. Oops. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did speak about it. Okay. Florida condo owners score legal victory in a fight over $35,000 assessment. So we just spoke about a $2,400 assessment, and this one's $35,000. That's huge. Plenty of upscale, blah blah blah. 1060 Brickell condos, 2-story, 2-tower, 45-story luxury high-rise, embroiled in a vitriolic legal contretemps for about a year. I didn't know 2 of those 4 words. I guess we'll Google them. Vitriolic, filled with bitter criticism or malice. Contretemps, minor dispute or disagreement. So what do you think they were? Started with the passage of a staggering $21 million special assessment. Insisted doing his duty to keep the building well maintained. $7.7 million for facade restoration, $3.5 million for repair and restoration, $2.5 million for general conditions, and $1.7 million for repairs and restoration. Owners were aghast, which would come directly out of their pockets, given the building was only 17 years old. Included a lack of transparency about the repairs, an engineering representative who wasn't licensed, a hasty deadline to pay the assessment, and a board that refused to answer questions. Condo owners got together to oust the three-person board and elected a new one in November 2024. However, the current board then disqualified the three candidates and managed to keep control, and that's when lawsuits began flying. Board sued a unit owner who led the recall effort. Unit owners were appointed to the board by a judge in July, and they too subsequently filed their own lawsuit. Condo owners now have a new board who will take operations. Hard fought win. Happy for the owners to take control and have the people who they voted for running the association. Wow. Unit owners, a married couple, filed the class action complaint alleging the board passage of the special assessment violated Florida law by failing to provide a description of the special assessment. The board's 2-1 vote on the assessment also violated the property's condo declaration. "1060 Brickell Condominium Owners Group has been especially active on X, posting videos calling out this homeowner." Oh, wow. That's really interesting. The castle-led board is finally out of the condo. Wow. That's very serious. And the requirements in Florida, that is a repercussion of many issues in Florida that are related to condos, large high-rise condos, and items of that nature. All right, we will move on. So here's one. Can HOA ban guns from pool areas? Board meetings despite Florida's new open carry law. Question. Florida just became legal for open carry of weapons. Does our board have the right to ban open carry in our common areas without having a vote from the community? This is from the Palm Beach Post, so this is related to Florida. Amendments to covenants are broadly enforced, and so you have a better chance. And this is from Ryan Polyakov, attorney and author based in Boca Raton. Amendments to covenants are broadly enforced. Better chance of implementing a restriction through an amendment than through a board-made rule. Rules, in contrast, are judged on a reasonableness standard. Whether the rule is intended to correct that problem. Overall, both covenants and rules limiting the open display of firearms would be ruled enforceable. Always a chance a judge would find that it is the public policy of the state of Florida to allow guns to be displayed anywhere, and that as a result, any limitations in any location other than your own home are invalid. But restrictions on the possession of weapons on a private property are common. Private landowner can restrict guns on its property until we have a court case challenging such a covenant or rule. We won't know for sure, and there's no question that an amendment to your declaration would hold weight, but tend to think that both covenants and rules prohibiting the open carry of weapons in common areas would be enforceable. Can a 50-year-old fly-in community change its rules to demand new owners be pilots? Air Park, prime amenity being runway for airplanes, built in 1974, intent to attract pilots with airplanes to live with their airplane in the community. Only 2 people owned a property here who did not fly or own an airplane, but they supported our goals to maintain an air park. Communities that appeal to tennis players, golfers, swimmers, MDs, CPAs, but none have ever restricted their owners to these special interests. Some of our members are concerned that non-pilots may be attracted to our community. This is crazy. We bought this with the knowledge we could sell to anyone. We are opposed to this restriction because we think it could limit the buying market. Surely could limit the buying market. And the author, that was the question person, and now the author. Reducing pool of eligible buyers. Exclusivity could appeal to serious pilots. Covenants are given a broad presumption of validity and are only rarely found to be unenforceable, typically because they violate the public policy of the state or fundamental constitutional right. But generally speaking, and if a restriction on ownership does not otherwise violate discrimination laws, it is theoretically possible to amend your declaration of covenants to restrict ownership to only licensed pilots. You can't divest existing non-pilot owners of their home, but can restrict whom they could sell their homes in the future. Ownership restrictions in deed-restricted communities are common. Some examples include restrictions on corporate ownership based on financial background or owning more than a single unit. Unless a court were to say somehow a violation of the public policy of the state, but which doesn't seem, the author does not think it's likely, such a restriction would be enforceable. That would be really interesting to have a pilot only HOA community. Some real lovers of planes and flying in that community. All right, thank you everyone. Again, this was brought to you by Zayuk Smart Property System. We have a lot of different modules for you and your vendors to provide you the tools to manage your property. And for HOAs and condos specifically, a lot of different modules: voting, reserves inspection, reserves in and of themselves. So thank you everyone, and hopefully you all have a great week ahead of you.